Well, we're happy about the deal that we were able to make, particularly that we were able to get in the draft, and we now can justify the scouts' work that they spend months doing, give them something to do that's really feels like you're in the dance. We think that, as most trades, you want to help both teams do what they're trying to accomplish, and I think that happened.
What do you like about Calderon?
Jose is a thoughtful guard. He's got great control of the ball. He pushes the ball up, accelerates it up the court. He's a very good three-point shooter. He organizes a team quite well, and we anticipate he'll fit into what we're trying to do.
What's the value in today's game between a three-point scorer and a defender at the point? Which do you have to sort of weigh that you need more of?
Well, it's a balance of what you have on your roster, really. I think you have to have both. You have to have an ability to have someone that backs a player up in case things get disruptive out there on the offensive end or defensive end. Either one, you have to have a support factor. But we like to have a good defensive front. That's something we missed the last year as a basketball team, was really being able to stop the ball.
Sorry, what was the number one reason for this? Was it to upgrade point guard, or what was the number one reason to make this trade?
I think that we saw that what we wanted to get accomplished was we had to change some of the chemistry in this team. And to do that, we felt important to bring in some new personnel and start, with some character guys that we feel can carry us forward. We think that, Samuel's a really good defender. He can replace Tyson's, defensive ability. Maybe not be the defensive player of the year like Tyson was, but he's going to be a quality defender. And Jose's got, capabilities of doing things that we like to do and what we operate as. Shane Larkin's a young player who really didn't have a chance last year because of injuries. Of an injury, I should say, not of injuries. And a highly thought of young player, changes the speed on the floor. We think that he's going to be effective doing that as kind of a change of pace guard. And Wayne Ellington was really someone that filled out this trade, so it made sense. But we know Wayne, and he's a quality player, good shooter, and he was the first-round draft pick back 4 or 5 years ago.
What did you notice about the chemistry of the team before the trade that made you think we have some retooling to do?
Watching them play. I saw guys that, really looked at each other like, you didn't back me up, you weren't here when, I needed help, or there just wasn't the right combination of feel that felt like everybody was in sync all the time.
Bill, was Carmelo clued in on this trade? Was he consulted? And do you think this makes things more appealing for him? Even though you did lose some cap space in 2015, but
not much. It's not enough to worry about that part of it.
Okay, but do you think so? Do you think this makes it more appealing for him to stay? This particular deal?
I wouldn't use the word consulted. I would use the word informed. We talked to Carmelo about this a couple weeks ago when we met with him, that it was on the table, and I was going to wait and see till I got back from Turkey as to how this fit. And so he was aware.
Bill, Carmelo said the meeting that he had with you was a great meeting. He called it. We're less than a week away now from the start of free agency. You feel any less different, less optimistic, maybe more optimistic than you were before you left?
Oh, it's a big question because there's so many things that can happen out there that we really don't know. With LeBron getting in this free agency and all this stuff, it's kind of tipsy-turvy right now. We don't know what all that means. But we have every confidence that Carmelo's good for what his word is, that he wants to be in New York. He likes playing in New York. He wants to compete. He wants to be part of a playoff team that's bound and competitive towards a championship.
So when you informed him that this was on the table, I mean, did he seem like this Calderon as a point guard? I mean, do you seem enthusiastic about this particular scenario?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he saw the value in it and was, you know, appreciative of it.
Was it beneficial that, you know, Derek just left the West and what was his reaction? Obviously, you know, the personnel out there pretty well.
Yeah, I think Derek's pretty much clued into the personnel on both sides of the league. You know, one of the things about coming from one division or, I mean, conference to the other is that, you know, it does give you a leg up going back to that other conference in situations where you're coaching. I know going from Chicago to LA was kind of a bonus for me going back and playing against the Eastern Conference the next year. I think Derek will have that advantage going back and playing the 30 games or so that he has to play against the Western Conference. But I think the personnel is one of the things, knowledge of the personnel is one of the things you may not be as highly informed in as you'd like to be.
So I think you said to us a couple weeks ago that with Melo, because the scary thing is it only takes one bidder.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he's declared he's opting out, and I guess word has kind of come out of a couple of visits he's got planned, do you feel different? Do you worry now more that, you know, that he's kind of out of your control?
Well, you don't have control. When someone goes into free agency, that's what it's about. They have the option to do that, and you know, they get a chance to see what other people have to say about it. And you know, you're going to step in a situation in which, you know, people are going to appeal to him and his better self and about what their team is, and he's going to have to make that judgment call. And we just hope that you know, what we're doing appeals to him also, and he realizes, you know, where he's been and how we want him back.
I guess with that, when you make a deal like this, how much is appealing to him and planning for how it'll work with him, and also planning for the other possibility that he's gone?
Well, we want to send a message to all of our players that, you know, we're on the move, and you know, we're making changes, and we're making changes to move forward in a direction that we want to go. We want to be more aggressive defensively. We want to have a certain sense of offensive alacrity where we're getting up and down the court and challenging, you know, defenses to get back and, you know, protect the basket. We're not comfortable just setting up in a half-court situation, even though we feel that we have one of the best half-court scorers in Carmelo. We know that basketball is a 94-foot game, and you have to play it that way. So those are some of the messages we're sending out there. And to do that, we've talked to our players about the condition they have to be in, the defenses that we're going to require, and that our offense requires ball movement and player movement. And so it's not going to be a static game that they play, so they have to be in great condition to play it.
You said that you don't have control in July with Carmelo, but you do have an option of possibly doing a sign and trade if it comes to that. Would you entertain that, a sign and trade?
I'm not going to talk about that. I feel restricted on that.
What about tonight? Do you have visions of possibly doing something as well? And maybe you talked about possibly getting into the late first round. Is that still a possibility?
As you guys know, there's so much goes on the draft night. Things get cooking, and you know, all hell breaks loose sometimes. Many people change sides, and things happen that are futuristic. Teams kind of show their hands in some regard as to where they're going and direction they're feeling about their next year. We have, you know, a couple boards dedicated to just 2 picks that aren't even first-round picks, but that's how much that, you know, we've gone through that, and we've also probably had workouts of over 50-some players. So, you know, we have a lot to go to, and we think that we've, you know, earmarked some players that'll give this team some of the things we're looking for: activity, competitiveness, ball. Guys will get after the ball, either steals or interceptions or deflections or rebounds, whatever, block shots. So that's one of the directions we've been looking at. So we're very happy about the way, you know, we've kind of pegged it out, and hopefully we're going to get someone that's going to help us out.
With all these other teams that they say are trying to get in position to sign multiple guys this summer, can you do anything to will you try to do that, get in that position? Is that something you think you'll be able to do?
Well, it's a very difficult task. And, those things really couldn't even talk about because it's so difficult to even get into consideration in that regard. We have many handicaps, obviously, with our salary cap being what it is. But, there's always a possibility. We're not going to rule ourselves out of any gambit that could possibly put us in a chance to, really do something special.
Bill, you talked last month about the Eastern Conference kind of being, wide open, and now
Yeah.
you've made a trade to upgrade a point guard.
Right.
Do you think that maybe one or two moves and, the way the Eastern Conference does kind of shake out, you guys could be right back in the mix of things?
We want to be, and that's what we're anticipating. There's a lot of distance between here and there, but, that's what we're trying to do.
Bill, making your first deal, is it something that took a while to get this done, or did it happen quickly with both sides?
No, this went on for some time. I don't think there was any question that it was a final goal of both teams. But I think a lot of stuff had to be digested, and a lot of things had to be answered. I didn't want to do the deal until Raymond had some kind of declaration as to what was going to happen, perhaps the protocol that was going to come down legally. Wanted him to have the best chance possible, that we get a good ruling and go forward and not hold back his career. And hopefully that'll work out right for him.
How many calls are you getting about your players, and who are they calling about most?
Well, I can't tell you that, but we are getting a lot of calls from a couple of players. That's it. And, I think you guys have seen, some of the names that have come along. But, yeah, there's been some calls.
You were in L.A. How often did Mitch work on something and then hand you the phone to push it over the goal line or talk to an agent or something like that? Did you do that all that?
Yeah. It's my job, it's a coach's job. I didn't always win the rush or the wooing sessions, but we got a number of players that we felt were a step up. Some it worked out successfully for us. Some it just brought us to the point of being there. But Gary Payton, Carl Malone, a couple things like that went down that really changed, refurbished, and re-energized the team. Trying to do that with a team that's really competitive and have a chance to win is very important. So yeah, I was there.
Does it feel different from this chair now?
Oh yeah, it's a different role.
Bill, where do you see yourself as being right now in terms of the roster and certain spots? It kind of seems like you guys are, even last year, the team was pretty heavy in terms of having a lot of shooting guards that could play a lot of minutes, kind of like a logjam there. Now you've got, I think, 4 point guards on the roster. Where do you see the balance being, and how many guys do you see carrying at certain positions like this?
Well, we have to obviously, balance that out as the summer goes along. We got 3 guards in this trade, so, that even overwhelmed our roster from that standpoint. So we'll work on that. We'll get that straightened out.
Just with Tyson, in terms of his offensive game, was it not, you talked about it in the press release last night, you wanted guys that fit the system. Was, in your vision, was Tyson not exactly the type of offensive center that fits into maybe your system?
Tyson played in for Bill Cartwright early on in his career, and triangle offense that Bill ran in Chicago. And so there's some familiarity there with Tyson. He's a young kid, 19 years of age, or 18, maybe even that. He was a high school guy out. So there's some things that I thought, he could develop and revisit coming back again here 14 years later or so. So that wasn't what ruled out the situation here. Tyson's in the last year of a contract. We knew that that's one of the things we don't want to sit and watch another player go off, and quality player like that and not get anything in return, so to speak. And the direction as to how far forward we went was another question. So that wasn't an issue.
Do you anticipate trying to get maybe the last meeting with Carmelo to kind of let him do his shopping, and then where you guys are trying to get the last word in that situation?
No, first or last, probably the best of all those equations, right?
You, the one salesperson, I guess, who's gonna make a pitch, it sounds like you know pretty well, Kobe. Is he a good salesman?
Kobe's a persuasive guy, no doubt about it.
How's Jean?
Huh?
Jeannie too?
Jeannie stays out of it. She'll let her brother do that part of it, I think.
So where do you, in the back, sorry, don't stuck behind camera.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Melo taking less than the max? You said you expected him to keep his word a couple months back. Where are you now?
Well, I think you misstated that. Not keep his word. He's the one that opened that up. It wasn't about the money, you know. So I challenged him on that because I wanted, you know, our fans to see that, you know, he's a team player, that he was going to do what was best for this team to get ahead farther and faster. But you know, that's not going to be an issue. I think there are going to be things that are going to be happening in the near future in the NBA that's going to grow this league. And I think monetarily, I think it's going to end up being, you know, not an issue for us to do that. However, the perception, well, that we haven't come to that, but the perception is that, you know, we want Carmelo to be, you know, as interested in winning, you know, but saying he's competitive and wants to be on a competitive team, to also being, you know, able to demonstrate that if push comes to shove in a situation where, you know, he may have to take a little bit less so that we're more competitive, to bring in another player to help this concept along.
Do you think it's, under the current CBA, do you think it's almost impossible to build a championship team with a player taking a max contract?
I think it puts limitations on a team. What happens is then you end up having, you know, 2 or 3 players that have big contracts, and everybody else is, you know, either your veteran minimums or, you know, young players that are coming in, or you just don't have that middle ground of a player that's a veteran, comfortable, leadership quality people. And I think that, you know, Miami explored it, and I think they got the most out of it. I'm wondering what direction it's going to go now.
Is Carmelo giving any sort of timeline for how quickly he wants to make a decision one way or another?
No. All right, thank you.
In light of this move, do you know which exceptions you guys have access to for free agency?
No, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know exactly what you're stating, and I don't know.
Just in terms of if it's the taxpayer mid-level, the mid-level, the...
We have the taxpayer mid-level right now. That's what we have at this particular moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, now. Enjoy the night.